Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
And I'm Aiara.
and welcome to the Cast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and then click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As usual, we'll start with what media we're consuming. Aiara, you can go first.
Alrighty. I don't know if I talked about this on the last cast that I was on, but I finally started rereading Jujutsu Kaisen, and it's going great. Very tragic, very sad. Not looking forward to what I'm seeing so far. I've been playing through a game that, like, one of the first games I ever bought on my 3DS, the letter V 6 times. That is the actual real life name of the game, and we love that for it. But when I played it for the first time, I played it with cheats on because I was like 11 and didn't really I wasn't good at video games. So now I'm trying to play through it legit. It's very hard, very, very difficult. But I'm having fun. Um, I finished Tetris Effect, the VR version of Tetris Effect recently. Gorgeous game, like a gorgeous, gorgeous game. It was really good. Surprisingly, I didn't go into it
I love me some
with,
Tetris.
huh?
I love me some Tetris.
Same. I didn't go into it with very high hopes because of like what I had seen of Tetris Effect before, and I'm more of a Puyo Puyo Tetris kind of person. But by the end of the experience, because I can't even really call it a game, it was more of an experience than anything. It was lovely. That's about it. I haven't really been doing much. I've been so busy lately.
Yeah, Tetris. It's one of the highest grossing games of all time for a reason. It's legendary. It's a fun game. Media I've been consuming. I watched the Batman again because it was added to HBO Max, I think on like the 19th of last month, which was a while ago at this point, which is weird. It feels like it wasn't that long ago, but it actually was because it's May 3rd that they were recording this. Yeah, and it was still good, still enjoyed it. I still think that third act I like the third act more having watched it the second time, but I still think a lot of stuff comes out of nowhere in that third act. Um, I rewatched Looper, which is a movie starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis, who for people who don't know, Bruce Willis is actually uh he's retiring from acting because he has a form of uh dementia, so he's gonna be bowing out from that, which is sad to hear. But he had been in a lot of movies and a lot of not very good movies for the past few years. And a lot of people are like, well, what's going on, Bruce? And it turns out he was doing it for both money and so that he can just act more before he retires. So yeah, watch Looper. Looper's it's not the best film, but it's not a bad film. It's an okay film. It's about like time travel. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays like a younger version of Bruce Willis, and they do some like visual effects and like makeup effects on Joseph Gordon-Levitt's face to make him look like a younger Bruce Willis. That looks pretty convincing. On like I believe Sunday, I watched The Northman, which is a film essentially about Vikings. I It was a movie I was never interested in. I saw some posters. I saw um some random ads on like social media, and it just I never paid it any mind. But then people on Twitter were like, "Man, this movie's good," and not enough people are talking about this movie. And I was like, Is it really that good?" And then I saw it kind of like everything all at once. I saw the trailers dozens of times every time I went to the movie, and I was like, that movie looked interesting, but I probably never watch it. And then I heard people saying that Everything Everywhere All at Once was good, and I was like, well, now I gotta go see it, and it was great. You saw it too. I
I
don't.
did.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
think we talked about it last time. You saw the movie.
yeah, I think we saw it after we had recorded, or I had saw it after we had recorded the cast. But that movie is fantastic. Like I'm not really a big movie buff. I usually fall asleep because I have a very short attention span. But like the entire time I was on the edge of my seat. Like the cinematography, the relationships between the characters. Like that movie is just good. If you have not seen it, go watch it. It's worth it.
Yeah. The Northman was directed by I cannot remember his name. I'll look it up, but he directed The Lighthouse and The Witch. Um, and to me, it kind of felt like a Western or a samurai film, but Vikings. That's what it felt like to me. I really like Westerns and like cowboy movies and samurai movies. And once again, for people who don't know, me and Amir have talked about this on the podcast before several times, but Westerns inspired samurai films, and then um, Western saw what samurai films were doing with that inspiration and took inspiration from that, and it just went in a big circle. So if you watch a samurai film and a Western film, you'll realize how similar they are because they influenced each other. And this, the Northman feels like the Viking version of that. And I would not be mad if this sparked like a renaissance where people are making Viking movies with kind of like that storytelling structure of a samurai or a Western. It was directed by Robert Eggers. And it's very true to Viking culture as I understand it. Admittedly, I'm no expert, but I feel like I've heard enough about it to at least understand understand a little bit of what they were like. And they don't really hold back when it comes to depicting how horrible Vikings are. They do hold back in a sense. They don't explicitly show any like sexual violence happening at all, but they definitely show the murder. They show you the fact that a big part of the story is the fact that they had slaves and the pillaging, of course, and they show all of that. Like they don't make the Vikings look like particularly good people. No, it's very much a movie that lives in a gray area. They don't make them look like they show you their culture in the way that it existed. They don't try to sugarcoat it, but they also show you the more human sides of them that would make you sympathetic for some of the characters. It was a good movie. It was another beautiful film. It was very pretty. And the night shots looked almost black and white, and that's another reason why it felt very like cowboy and samurai for me. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I'll probably watch it again once it's on digital. It was a good film. I also have been watching Atlanta on Hulu. Great show. Not much more I can say. You guys should just check it out. If you've never seen Atlanta at all, just watch the episode from season 2 of Atlanta titled Teddy Perkins. You don't need to know anything else about the show to watch that episode. It's completely isolated. It only features one character from the main cast. It is my favorite episode of the show. I started watching Stranger Things season 2 because I don't know, I'm late on the Stranger Things train, but I watched a bit of it. Like my teacher had played in class a long time ago when I was in school, and I just never continued to watch it after that. And then recently I started picking up where I left off in the middle, like the first season, from what my teacher showed me, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And I'm watching season 2 and I'm enjoying it. Last but not least, I've been playing Sleeping Dogs video game. It's essentially like GTA, but in Hong Kong and with a lot of kung fu. It's really fun. It deserves a sequel. I can only imagine what a sequel to this game would look like, especially after playing Sifu. I feel like the combat style of Sifu would work very well in like a Sleeping Dogs type game. But the Sleeping Dogs gameplay is more like the Batman Arkham games, where you press Y or triangle. I'm playing it on an Xbox, but you press Y or triangle to like parry whenever the indicator shows up and an enemy attacks you. That's what the combat's like, and it's really fun. Moving on to current events. For those who don't know, there's currently being an attempt to overturn the original law that made abortion legal countrywide in America around 50 years ago. Within the last year or so, there have been conservatives have been making way more of an effort than usual to make this country unsafe for both women and queer people. And this isn't anything you haven't heard before. And I shouldn't have to say this, but no one but the woman involved should be able to make choices involving their body. And I'm a very hopeful and optimistic person. So I believe there are people in power who will help prevent this from happening. I've been, in preparation to, discuss this, I've been doing some research, and there are tons of senators and people in the government that are fighting against this. And that gives me hope that, this won't happen. And I'll do my part to support that in any way that I can. And all you guys watching this, you should as well, of course.
Oh boy, do I have a lot. As a woman who lives in America, I'm terrified. Not even just, I'm a queer woman who lives in America, so I'm extra terrified. But I do have a lot of hope that like none of this goes through. But then at the same time, like it's not going to stop them. Like, yes, I feel like what am I trying to say? It's not like if my biggest thing with it is if the bill is passed, right, to overturn Roe versus Wade, that's not going to stop abortions. And I think that's the part that scares me the most, because like they'll just become way, way more unsafe for women who need them. And then of course, like there's this thing of like, oh, yeah, the normal women and like won't be able to get them, but you can bet your ass that the same senators who overturned this bill, let their daughters get pregnant at like 16, and all of a sudden they've lost the baby. If you're picking up on what I'm putting down. But I do, with our current like legislative setup, I do have hope that like the overturning of Roe versus Wade won't go through. I'm just scared, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely natural to be afraid in these type of situations when these type of laws are being passed. It's ridiculous that in the year of our Lord 2022 that this is still going on, right? Like you'd think that we'd be further along in this fight than people trying to do shit like this. It's ridiculous. But yeah, something that people are trying to do is, introduce legislation that prevents something like this from ever happening again, to prevent anybody from even trying to undo it in the first place. And, we need stuff like that. We need several things like this to prevent people from infringing on people's human rights altogether. The laws passed in Texas and Florida, like we need stuff to keep people from even attempting to try
right
to make those type of things. So that way that they don't even get their foot in the door to make an attempt. It's just impossible for them to do. But yeah, that's about all I have to say. How about you?
Yeah. Wait. Yeah, I'm unmuted. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much all I had. Like, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And it's like, man, the fact that this is even a thing that can be happening is just like it's scary on one hand, but then also it's like pissing me off because it's like you choose now of all times when like there's so much other turmoil going on in the world, like going through a global pandemic, the whole thing with Ukraine, like civil wars all overseas and stuff, and you choose now to cause political unrest in America. Do you not see what's going on,
And
like in the greater world?
Yeah, that's probably on purpose because everybody's distracted, or they thought, but we're not that distracted. But yeah, so from that we'll talk about Mario. So the Mario movie got delayed to April 7th. Actually don't know what year. Is that this year?
2023. It got
Oh,
delayed.
okay, I was going to say, did it get delayed to April this year? Because April passed.
Right, no.
I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, it got delayed to April 7th, 2023. And I want to tell you about a theory that I have that I discussed when they first started showing the cast and stuff like that. Is that so? Chris Pratt is playing Mario, which is strange. And the original voice actor for Mario and most of the Mario characters is going to be in the movie. He's going to be playing some characters, probably other Mario characters that he's played before. But let me look up his name real quick.
Charles Martinet.
Yeah, Charles Martinet. He's going to be in the movie, right? So here's my theory. My theory is that the OG voice actor Charles Martinet will be voicing Mario, but he'll be voicing Mario like senior, aka Jumpman, the Mario from the Donkey Kong game.
I like that.
Because it is canonical that Cranky Kong was that version of Donkey Kong that was in that game where Mario and Donkey Kong were introduced. And both Cranky Kong and Donkey Kong will be in this movie. I believe Seth Rogen is voicing Donkey Kong, and I forget who's voicing Cranky Kong. And I think that maybe this movie will be like Charles Martinet is playing the original Mario, and then Chris Pratt is playing his son, the Mario we all know and love. And I think that's what they might be going with this. So I think that Charles Martinet might still be playing Mario, but just the older version of him, and maybe his character will pass away or something. I don't know.
I sure hope so, because the more I hear about this movie, the more scared about it I get.
Yeah, I feel like what is the name of the woman in the red dress who sung like Jump Up Superstar and like that Mario had to save? You said what?
Pauline.
Yeah, Pauline. My theory is that Pauline is also Mario and Luigi's mother. So yeah, I just think that would be a cool story, a cool way to go about the story. For like,
Definitely. I do like that theory. My only problem with this is that Yoshi's Island, I'm gonna nerd out a little bit. I'm not the biggest Mario fan, but I know a lot about the lore in air quotes. In Yoshi's Island, the first one, not the re-release for the 3DS, the Mario Bros were confirmed orphans, which is tragic
yeah,
because when at the beginning of the game they were dropped off by a stork onto Yoshi's Island, and the Yoshis had to raise them. So if anything,
so yeah, it would be cool. Like, they could just do it like Mario died or something. Like the original Mario died, and then they got sent to Yoshi's Island or something like that.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like that, like knowing Nintendo and their history of like not caring about continuity in their own games, I'm looking at you, the Zelda timeline.
Yeah,
They're not even gonna worry about it that far.
yeah, they could just pull like a Tarzan. They just sent them down the river, and they were picked up by the stork and sent to Yoshi's Island or something like that. I think that would be interesting. But yeah, when you mentioned Zelda, it reminded me like it's weird that Nintendo just haven't really fully capitalized on these very popular franchises they haven't made more animated series because they have old ones, but they need to make a new Zelda animated series
I
that
feel
like
like
that I feel like if they were to try and follow, like they shouldn't follow the timeline. What they should do though is for the first like few seasons, or like the main like storyline of this show should be like the like what is that game called? Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask kind of timeline. I feel like if they were gonna follow one, that's the one they should follow.
Um, as a Zelda buff, like I feel like the Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask timeline, which is I think off the top of my head, I don't have the timeline pulled up because I don't have Hyrule Historia. I wish I did. That's the like hero dies, and that's the timeline that leads to like Twilight Princess and stuff. I feel like that could be interesting, but at the same time, like I want to see them kind of redo the original cartoon, which I think was based off either Link to the Past or the one that came before it, Link's Adventure or whatever Zelda 2 was. I think it's based on that one. And
Zelda
I
2.
feel like, huh?
I say yeah, Zelda 2, Link's Adventure.
Yeah, I feel like that could, especially because people have like nostalgia for it, but like nostalgia in the way that like this was so terrible, but it was so fun to look at because it was so terrible. Like I feel like if they play into that, it would become really popular.
Yeah, and I wonder if they should make it to where he doesn't talk at all, or he just talks very little.
Definitely should not talk at all because I think in watching the old Zelda cartoon, because I have watched it, that was my biggest problem. Link talked too much.
Yeah, it's like not only did he talk, but he talked as much as he possibly could.
Right.
He
It's like
did
shut up
not shut up.
sometimes. Please, my good sir. And it's like I don't mind that they made him a not silent protagonist in the cartoon. If he wasn't so annoying, it wouldn't be a problem. Like not only does he talk a
That
lot,
show
he's
is a gem.
annoying. Huh?
I said the show is a gem. It is so funny for no reason.
Right. Oh, God. I still to this day say, "Excuse me, princess," in like as many contexts as I can. It's disgusting.
Yeah, but I don't know if you've watched the first 2 seasons, but there was a trailer for Love, Death, and Robots Volume 3. And it's supposed to be premiering May 20th. Um, the first season was really good. There's like 2 episodes that really stood out to me. It's well, I should probably explain what it is. It's an anthology animated series on Netflix. And the 2 episodes that really stood out to me in the first season were Good Hunting and The Witness. Good Hunting was a very interesting episode, and it's the only one that I've watched and go, I would watch a whole series about this one in particular. And it was kind of it was done like a anime-ish kind of art style, and it was about like kind of like a fox spirit whose mother was killed by a hunter, but she befriends the hunter's son, and he like helps protect her in a world where like spirits are like their powers are dwindling because like technology and machines are like spreading across the world and stuff like that. As you know, society and civilization evolves. It's a very interesting story, and The Witness was just beautifully animated. it's like Spider-Verse art style. It was actually the dude who worked on it, Alberto Mielgo, worked on Spider-Verse. It was in like a 3D art style with 2D textures and effects. And it is like well, actually, I don't even want to spoil it because you should just watch it. All of them are, most of them at least, are around 15 minutes max, but they're usually shorter than that. And they're shorts and they're all really, really, really good. Well, the ones I like are really good. Like these two are really good. Some of them are the second season was cool. It was less episodes. It was like half as many episodes as the first season. And I feel like the art styles weren't as the art style and the stories weren't as diverse as the first season. And that left it feeling kind of bland. There were way too many like hyper realistic art styles that I was watching going like, this could just be live action. Like I don't need to see this in anime format. I feel like the purpose of animation is to do something that cannot be done in live action. So to see stuff that I'm watching and just going, this could just be a live action and an animated anthology series where the whole point is to create unique stories with unique art styles. It was just disappointing that second season. But the third season, I'm hoping there are, animation takes a long time, so I don't necessarily need there to be more episodes than the second season, but I need more diversity than the second season. Have you seen the show or heard about it?
I have heard about it. I saw a trailer in air quotes on TikTok of all things the other day, and I was very confused. But I liked the three characters that like starred in it, and I was like, I'm gonna have to check this out. This looks cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun watch. If anything, check out the episode The Witness and Good Hunting.
You know.
Uh,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, I wasn't really gonna say anything. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, the plot, like the setup to the plot in Good Hunting, kind of reminds me of like another like a game series that I really like, which has sort of the same premise, like gods and it's set in Japan. Like gods and stuff are losing all their powers, so they flee to like this fantasy land where like they're still very very powerful because like people are starting to believe in them less. So it's like, okay, we'll just go and we'll make our own. And like humans are kept out, but sometimes they slip through anyway. It is just funny to see something else with that same sort of premise.
Yeah, it's fun. It has some good action in it too. But speaking of Netflix animation, Netflix has been doing some wild stuff lately. So according to several creators who spoke to uh the Wrap, the kids and family space at Netflix animation has changed. A series that benefited from great word of mouth and critical praise aren't being renewed, and several high profile projects have been unceremoniously canceled, including the long delayed adaptation of Jess Smith's beloved comic book series called Bone. I've heard of Bone a lot. I've seen the comic places. I've never read it. I
They
know
canceled the Bone adaptation. I'm pissed.
they've canceled a lot. So um they recently suffered a huge subscriber loss on Netflix. And after that, I don't even think it was after, I think it was before that, they increased their price for for the subscription. And immediately after that subscriber drop, they started canceling a bunch of animated projects. A lot of really cool sounding animated projects. And I feel like they just took the wrong message from the subscribers leaving. Like they must be leaving because they don't like animation. Like, no, that's not how that works. You increase your price. People either don't have the money or just don't want to spend that money on a subscription service that they probably weren't really using a lot, because Netflix hasn't been really having a lot of good stuff lately, other than Arcane. Arcane is its saving grace, as well as I've been watching Community or Netflix, and that's Netflix for me. Arcane, Community, and now Stranger Things. Um, but yeah, they're canceling a lot of animated projects, and they're kind of reshuffling their entire like the animated side of Netflix. And this, it just feels like another slap in the face of many to animation as a medium. You know, I'm sure there's already been fights for better treatment for people who work in animation with the new deal for animation. Um, and a lot of the stuff that they've been canceling at Netflix has been affecting shows that essentially target people of color. Like there was a show called Boons and Curses, which was an action cartoon about like South Asian diasporas. And according to the employees who worked on it, it was just canceled out of nowhere. Like there was no warning or anything. A lot of people are also being laid off from Netflix, and it's just like Netflix is being wild right now. I hope I think Arcane's safe. Arcane was way too popular for them to get rid of, but this is crazy what they're doing. And something just needs to change in the entertainment industry here in the West, specifically when it comes to how they treat animation. Like animation, people love it. It's not just for kids, and it can be so many different things if you let it be. And for some reason, they just won't allow it.
It's because of like
But they're scared of it because they know animation can overtake live action very easily.
I mean, shoot, look at Japan. Like, there are like even like I think America's biggest problem when it comes to the animation industry is that they want to turn animation into live action so bad. They want to do live action adaptations of everything, and it kills the animation industry because it's like because the live action projects usually aren't that good. So like everyone's scared of killing their darling because some big company is like, hey, let's make it live action now. And then like also, the stigma of animation being for kids and stuff, but like you can't cover like the themes you can with live action because of that stigma. And so people are afraid to break out of that mold of, oh, let's make things that are child friendly via animation, if that makes sense. Like it goes both ways, I think.
Yeah, it's like I feel like we get both closer and further every day. Like we get stuff like Invincible that's very clearly not for kids and is like an animated series that it's about superheroes, which traditionally people would say are also for kids, but it is a mature story that kids should definitely not be watching, Like we get stuff like that every now and again that proves that animation is beyond just being for kids, but it gets ignored. It gets treated as an exception rather than proof that it's a medium. It's not a genre that's aimed specifically at kids. It's a medium that anything can be made from.
That's the best way to put it, I think. Like I don't think I've heard it put so succinctly like that. It's a medium, not a genre. Like, good words.
Yeah, I feel the same way about a lot of people like to call comic book movies a genre because the MCU has a formula that they follow, but like comic book movies exist beyond the MCU and Disney, and comic book movies aren't a genre because you can make there are horror comics and you can turn those into movies.
Like one of my favorite, what am I trying to say? They adapted a bunch of Junji Ito comics into an animated series, and that was really good. So it's like if you can turn like the specific Junji Ito brand of horror into something animated and make it great, like I feel like what we should do, like, is not we, but you know what I mean, is do the reverse. Instead of turning everything animated into a live action, turn some of these live actions into animations. People would go wild for it. I swear they would.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really think of anything that's live action that I would prefer to see animated off top, but I don't know. I just can't think of any, so I don't really know if I agree with that because I feel like most of the live action stuff I've seen, I like it animated. I mean, I like it in live action, but there are plenty of animated stuff that people try to make live action. I'm like you don't need to do that. It's fine the way it is. You don't like live action isn't an evolution of anything, especially animation, where you can do literally whatever you want. Versus live action, you're very limited to what actually exists in the real world. And then when you want to do something that doesn't exist in the real world, what do? You animate it with CGI. And that goes to prove how important animation is. So speaking of animation, Across the Spider-Verse, there was footage shown at CinemaCon. And I think it was for like the first 10, 15 minutes. And it featured Spider-Gwen, Spider-Man 2099, and a pregnant Jessica Drew, who's Spider-Woman, fighting the Vulture. And it was they also showed like Miles wants to go to Columbia University to study physics and kind of develop a multiverse jumping project so that he could go to different multiverses. So the project, it was delayed to the summer of 2023 instead of it was supposed to come out this like winter. And the project's scope has just increased dramatically. The directors and writers, Lord and Miller, revealed that over 1,000 animation staffers are working on Across the Spider-Verse, which is a record for an animated feature film. And they also revealed that it will have 240 characters set across 6 different Spider-Man universes. So yeah, it makes sense why it got delayed. It's just it's going to be a lot, and it's probably going to be really good. And he also revealed that the third film will be titled Beyond the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. So I'm real excited for this. The Spider-Verse as a whole has just been really helping to revolutionize animation, and we got stuff like Arcane from it, and I can't wait to see where this universe goes. But speaking of which, with the time we have remaining before I have to send another link and then immediately download OBS. Sony is planning to making a film about a Spider-Man villain named El Muerto, and everybody got upset because nobody knows who this is and nobody cares. So, the thing about Sony's Spider-Verse is that there's nothing saying it can't work. Spider-Man, part of what make characters like Spider-Man and Batman so cool are their villains. Spider-Man, Batman have they have the best rogues gallery in all of comic books. Undenied. You can only argue between those two who has the better characters, villains specifically. And Spider-Man has a lot of really cool villains who can and have carried their own comic book series and therefore could carry their own movie series within a universe where Spider-Man exists. Only problem is, within this universe, guess who doesn't exist, Aiara? Or at least might exist, but hasn't been explicitly shown.
Spider-Man?
Spider-Man.
Oh boy.
They keep trying to make this Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man in it. But it's supposed to be a Spider-Man universe. Like, they can make a universe where Spider-Man and a bunch of other Spider people exist, and the all of these cool Spider-Man villains exist, if you just have the Spider people actually be in it. But what I know about El Muerto after a little bit of research is that his name is Juan Carlos Sanchez, and he was trained his entire life by his father to become the next El Muerto, which is a masked wrestler who has like mystical powers. But Sanchez doesn't. He just doesn't want to do it, and he refuses to fight someone named El Dorado, who is part of the ritual to becoming El Muerto. And as punishment, El Dorado attempts to kill him and kill his father, and he tries to protect him, and then he tells him like, okay, since you're brave, I'm going to give you 10 years and you have to defeat a great hero to become El Muerto. And he chooses to fight Spider-Man, and that's his story. I don't know how you do it without Spider-Man, but like, I feel like you're taking Spider-Man villains who have Spider-Man as an intrinsic part of their story and just for removing Spider-Man. Like, Venom is a character who has grown beyond Spider-Man at this point in his life in the comics, but his origin should always, I feel like, personally, it should always start from Spider-Man. And it's weird when it doesn't. And then the Venom films are fun action films, but they aren't very good story-wise. And I just feel like there's a lot of potential for a Spider-Man universe that they've just squandered.
Yeah, it's like, as a person who's, again, not really well versed on comics, I have seen the first Venom movie, not the second. I really liked the first Venom. I thought it was it was a good romp. But like, I don't, based on what you've like explained to me, the universe doesn't make sense without Spider-Man in it. Like, the whole character motivation of what's his name again?
El Muerto.
Yeah, his whole character motivation doesn't make sense if you take Spider-Man out of the equation. So like I'm sitting here trying to figure out how that's gonna work. And I know Sony's over there like, oh, we got this whole continuity and it's like real complex and stuff. And it's like nobody's gonna want to untangle that. And that's just the truth of the matter. Like Sony may have this whole like thing set up on how it's gonna work without Spider-Man. Nobody's gonna want to untangle it. So the movie's gonna bomb. Like they set themselves up for failure.
Yeah, and the thing is that they don't want to do Spider-Man because Spider-Man already existed in the MCU, but now I think that they've gotten over that because of the introduction of the Spider-Verse, which has been in the comics before the movies, obviously, because the movies featuring the Spider-Verse were inspired by the comics. And they could have a long time ago just introduced a multiverse with multiple Spider-Mans in it and then moved on from there and been like, this is a different Spider-Man, obviously, because it's played by a different actor. And I don't know why they didn't just do that from the beginning, but now because of multiple Spider-Mans being introduced, they're probably going to now be like, okay, now we can actually introduce a Spider-Man into this universe and make things make sense. So moving on to comics, I've been reading Children X by Sui Ishida, who is the creator of Tokyo Ghoul. And in the last chapter, so far I was like, it's cool, it's fun, but it feels very different from things that this author has written and drawn before. But then this last chapter got lit and hyper violent in Tokyo Ghoul fashion, and I was just like, okay, I see where they're going with this story now, and it got really interesting, really fast. And I'm excited for the next chapter. I've also been started rereading Chainsaw Man. I told you I was going to start rereading it because I read the short story, the one shot by Tatsuki, and I was like, man, was Chainsaw Man this good? Because it's been a while since I've read it and I enjoyed it a lot. But was the writing like this, or is this an evolution of their writing? And I've been going back and reading it, and it's still good. I'm on chapter 30 of like 94 or something like that. And it's still great. And what got me to start doing it finally was this YouTuber I watch called Totally Not Mark has started reviewing it, and he did like the first 22 chapters in his first review. So I was like, I got to read at least the first 22 chapters before this video comes out. But yeah, excited for the anime. Hope they do it justice. I read The Flash number 781. In this issue of The Flash, he goes on an adventure with a Kid Flash who the current Flash is Wally West, who is the original Kid Flash. And the current Kid Flash is Wally West's younger cousin, also named Wally West. His name is also Wallace West, but he calls him Ace because he doesn't want to also call him Wally or Wallace. And despite their blood relation, because Wallace was created in for the New 52, which is like a rebooted timeline, where he was essentially supposed to replace the original version of Wally, who's a white guy with red hair, and this version of Wally is black. And they brought back the original Wally, the redhead version, who was the Flash, and from between the 80s up until the early 2000s, because the original Flash, Barry Allen, had died in some epic DC crossover event. So people who grew up, who watched or read Flash comics or watched any cartoons between the 80s and early 2000s, Wally West was the Flash. And then all of a sudden, DC said, you know what? Forget about him. We're going to bring back Barry. We're going to reboot the universe, and we're going to create a new Wally he's a good character, but he's nothing like the original Wally that you grew to love over these past 20 years. Comic books are weird, but he's back. He's the current one and only Flash while Barry Allen is off doing multiverse shenanigans, and he's finally interacting with his cousin, who I feel like, despite being cousins, they barely interact with each other. But now that they have, it's really cool, and I like their relationship. I've been reading Animal Man. I read volume 2, which Animal Man is a superhero whose abilities are to use the abilities of animals within a certain radius of him for a certain amount of time. In this volume, he works with another superhero named Vixen. She's a African woman with essentially the same powers, except her powers come from a necklace, and she doesn't have a time limit or a range limit, so she can pull powers from whatever animal for however long, as long as she's wearing her necklace. And they work together, and they low-key touch on something that this is an older comic. This comic is from like the 80s that I'm reading, Animal Man Volume 2 by Grant Morrison. So as I'm reading it, they're introducing like these characters that like gave all of the like animal themed DC characters their powers. And as I'm reading, I'm like, am I witnessing the creation of the Red? Because the Red is essentially the force from which all animal-based heroes in DC get their powers. And I knew about that beforehand already. So as I'm reading this, I'm going, I feel like I'm discovering the origin of how that came to be. And then I Googled it, and I was like, the first example of the Red in DC Comics came from Grant Morrison's Animal Man Volume 2. And I was like, okay, I was right. I read Dark Knights of Steel volume. I'm an issue number, I can't remember. But Dark Knights of Steel is like a version of the DC universe that's in like medieval times. And Superman came to Earth, but with his parents this time instead of by himself. And they essentially, alongside the Waynes, started like an empire. And they're at war with people who use magic because they are like afraid of Superman and his family, because they're essentially like, they're super people, they're gods. And yeah, it's been interesting so far. But it's hard to give a proper review of this series because the chapters are so spaced out. It's one chapter per month, and I start to like forget things that happened in previous chapters. And also, it's hard to truly tell where the story's going. So yeah, it's weird, but I'll probably try and reread it, reread through it so I get a better feel for it. I also read Thor: God of Thunder by Jason Aaron and Asad Rubik. I read the first 2 volumes, which have to do with Gore the God Butcher, and it was epic in every sense of the word. I read it because it's one of the stories that's inspiring the story in Thor: Love and Thunder, which comes out in a month or two. And I've just been wanting to read this Thor story for a while, and it was one of the first comics I read on my iPad. And let me tell you, Aiara, reading comics on my iPad versus my phone, which isn't a small phone, but it's not as big as a tablet, obviously, the difference was it was so great, especially reading a Thor comic, which his powers involve lightning. So something that you get with digital comics versus physical comics is light. So when he shoots lightning, like the way it is colored, it looks like light as a digital device can create. So yeah, reading comics digitally is wonderful. I've been doing the same with like all my manga as well. So
I'm a little crazy. I've been starting to read manga in VR because like I don't know. Like my VR headset can access the internet. I'm bored with all the games I have, so I'm like, screw it. Let's read some manga in VR. And let me tell you, Chainsaw Man hits different when all the action is in your face like that. I'll say that much.
I would imagine so. But yeah, that's all I got for comics. You got any comics you've been reading you want to mention?
I've been, of course, catching up with Jujutsu Kaisen again. That comes with everything being sad and terrible. My favorite manga, Hoseki no Kuni, is still on hiatus. It has been 542 days since it went on hiatus, and it is.
I was about to say years.
Oh God, it sure feels like that. Especially because of what happened in chapter, I think 94, where I won't give spoilers, but let's just say a character is waiting for something for 10,000 years, and I think Haruko Ichikawa, who's the author, is playing the long con and making us wait 10,000 days for the new chapter, because it's supposed to update monthly. It's been almost a year now, or more than a year actually, since she went on hiatus, and we have gotten nothing. No announcements in the serial. It's posted at nothing. No more rocks right now, and it makes me sad.
So a lot of the like the manga that I've read that went on like long hiatuses is because Japanese people work a lot and really hard, and end up getting sick because of that, and or like something like that happens. And was it Hunter x Hunter is one that's like currently still on a hiatus, and the writer Togashi, who also created Yu Yu Hakusho. For people who don't know, he's married to the creator of Sailor Moon, Naiko Takeuchi, and he's from what I've understand, he's considering having her draw it while he writes it, which I think would be dope because her art style, it's very different from his, but I feel like that would low-key make the story better, just to see the same story in a different art style. It's something that I normally get annoyed with when it comes to American comics. The artists change sometimes very frequently. And you'll get used to this really good art style, and then the story, the writer's still the same. So you're enjoying the story, but the art changes, and you got to get used to a whole new art style when you love the previous art style. It happens so often in American comics, and it can be annoying sometimes. But because we had Togashi for so long, and I know what the art style of his wife Nako is like, I would be interested to actually like read Hunter x Hunter in her art style.
Yeah, like I feel like my friend keeps trying to get me to watch and or read Hunter x Hunter, and like it doesn't help that he keeps spoiling everything for me, but my friend
get somebody to watch something, you don't spoil it.
Yeah, like it's so obnoxious, but I'm gonna if
I feel like you've told me about this friend before, about them telling you about something else that they spoiled for you when they were trying to get you to see it.
They do it a lot. He means well. He really means well. I know he does, but like, come on now. But I feel like since it's on hiatus and the art style's about to change, now is as good a time as any to catch up. So I guess I'll start doing it. And then also I had something else to say and I forgot what it was, so never mind. No, I remember. One thing I am like curious about, you know how the creator of Berserk, he passed like a couple months ago, or was that last year?
Yeah, it was sometime last year.
Yeah, how are they gonna I want to know how they're gonna continue it, because it's not over.
They're
like
not. It is over.
Not? Oh, okay, it is over.
Yeah, they just straight up ended it.
Yeah, as they should, honestly, because I feel like
like his assistants like drew up an ending based off of his notes.
Oh, dope. Okay, I was like,
they just wrapped up the story from where it left off. Like it wasn't like supposed to end yet, but because he passed away, they were like, we're just gonna wrap it up.
I get you. All right, that makes sense. Because like I was concerned that like because I don't read Berserk, but I know that it's like really important to a lot of people. It's like one of the granddaddies of manga, especially because it's so long. So I was like concerned that they just got left in the middle of an arc and that was it. And I was like, dang, that sucks. But now that I know that they wrapped it up, that's good.
It's actually not even that long because he took a lot of hiatuses because of his health, and that led to it like existing for a long time. But overall, the story itself actually not being that long.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that's why I like brought it up, because we were talking about hiatuses and such because of poor health.
Yeah, but I just hope that one day it gets a proper anime adaptation. The one from the 90s is it still holds up pretty well. I still enjoy it a lot, but it's definitely dated. And it's even animation is a timeless medium. You got things like Cowboy Bebop, which came out like a year after or before the Berserk anime did, which came out I believe in 97, and Cowboy Bebop was I think 96. So Cowboy Bebop has some beautiful animation, and more better animation than Berserk in a lot of ways. So I feel like it being old isn't necessarily why the animation is so dated. It's just that I feel like it's hard to truly adapt his art because his art is just so good. But I think it can be done. They just need the right animation studio and the right team to make a really good Berserk adaptation. And next time they try, they better go all out. They better put as much money into it as possible, honestly, because it was a Demon Slayer. They showed a trailer for the next season, which is season 3. And after that, I would guess that, having read through all of Demon Slayer and the arcs that they've done so far, they're probably gonna end at season 4, maybe 5, or maybe a movie, and that'll probably be the end of it. So I feel like Ufotable would be the perfect animation studio to do a Berserk anime, because they make some beautiful animation. If you've seen Demon Slayer or Fate Stay Unlimited Blade Works. You know what I'm talking about. They're good at their job. I feel like they would do it justice.
Slayer, but what I have seen, it's fantastic. Like it's so. I think my favorite part of like what I've seen is like the. I don't want to say lighting effects, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like how they do the lighting and make it so dynamic in animation. Yeah. Like it's fantastic.
Miura in the manga is a core part of the way he draws is using light and dark in contrast to each other extremely well with a lot of the characters, because the main villain's character colors are like pure white, whereas the main characters is black, and he contrasts that a lot. But moving on to TV and film, the Avatar 2 title was revealed. It's called The Way of Water and will be releasing December 16th, 2022 this year. As the title suggests, and I discussed it a bit on the podcast before, Avatar 2 will be taking place largely around the water and underwater, and we'll be learning about a tribe of the Na'vi, the alien species on the planet Pandora in Avatar, kind of like an aquatic version of that species. And from what I understand, James Cameron insisted that they film the actors under actual water. And it seems like he did with the first movie, he's trying to really push the envelope of like filmmaking and visual effects and CGI, like he did back in like 2008 or 9 when the first one came out. Not only that, but they also film a lot of the scenes underwater without scuba gear because he didn't want a bunch of bubbles around. So they had to hold their breath, and this resulted in Kate Winslet breaking Tom Cruise's underwater breath hold on a film set record at like 7 minutes and something seconds, which is ridiculous.
I didn't even know such a record existed, but congrats, Kate.
Yeah, Tom Cruise is a maniac. He does his own stunts, and he likes to do on every Mission Impossible film some ridiculous stunt. And in one of the films, I believe is the third one, maybe, he did one when he was underwater for a very long time, and it was one continuous shot, and it was just him underwater, and it's amazing. Like, I really like the Mission Impossible movies. The last one, I forget what it's called, was really good. It had Henry Cavill in it. It had that famous scene where he like cocks his biceps before he fights somebody. It's a good movie. It's essentially just the American version of James Bond. They're really fun action movies. But yeah, I like Avatar, the first movie. It of course is beautiful and holds up really well, despite it coming out back in like 2009. The visual effects hold up so well, and I don't think anyone has a doubt in their mind that the sequel of one of the most visually beautiful films of all time will look bad. You know, the sequel to it will look bad. Like with modern tech, it's going to look even better than the original film did. And you know, I'm interested to see how he pushes visual effects specifically, and especially since he'll be doing a lot of underwater stuff, which will be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm just a little concerned about that, like, because I remember seeing recently, like this didn't happen recently, but it was an article that I saw, like an act they I don't remember what movie it was for. I think it was like Alien, the second Alien movie, the name of which I cannot remember. I think
it's literally let me tell you, the second Alien movie is literally called, and listen carefully, Aliens with an S.
So that's not the movie I'm thinking of then. It's like Resurrection or some shit.
Resurrection is the fourth one.
Got you. Okay. But I'm not even sure if it's that movie also. But I remember they did like an underwater scene. One of the actors like drowned, and I'm worried that that's going to happen.
Yeah, well, they already filmed the movie, and the movie's coming out late this year, so they've done all that stuff already, and nobody's so. And yeah, somebody, I do know what you're talking about. Someone did die on an Alien film set. I'm gonna look it up. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Somebody died on the Alien film set a long time ago.
Yeah, it's like it's one thing to break the barriers of film, just do it safely, you know.
Yeah, but yeah, you know, no one's died. The movie, you know, they filmed like 3 of them or something already, like because they're filming them back to back. So it seems like everybody's all right so far because there hasn't been any articles about like someone dying on the set of Avatar 2.
Okay, dope.
But Kung Fu Hustle is getting a sequel. Have you ever seen Kung Fu Hustle?
I've never even heard of it.
Oh my god. I think it's on Netflix. You gotta watch Kung Fu Hustle. It is a really good it's a like a comedy, action comedy by director Stephen Chow, who did a movie called Shaolin Soccer as well. And it's man, I don't even really know how to truly describe Kung Fu Hustle. It's a martial arts film, and it's I like to say that it is what like a live action Dragon Ball could be, because it does some wacky kind of like over the top martial arts stuff, and it's just there's really no way to explain it other than saying like watch a trailer or something. That's all I can say because it's hard for me to really explain it. But the little information we have is that it will probably have a female lead. Stephen Chow, the director, he starred in the first one himself, and it will be set in a foreign country. The first movie was set in China, so I'm real hyped for this. I really like Kung Fu Hustle, the first one. It's a great movie. I'm excited for this the sequel. So let's talk about Halo again. Episode 5 was really good, and episode 6 was really good. Episode 5 was the ending was really good, but episode 6 as a whole was really good. So episode 6 was really good because last time I talked about how there's a character named Quan Ha who I don't care about. Her story is inconsequential to literally anything happening with Chief, the Spartans, or the UNSC. So I don't care about her, and I don't care about her storyline. In episode 6, we didn't see her. Well, actually, that's a lie. We saw her in like a bit of a flashback that actually added to Chief's story. But like outside of that, we didn't go back to like what she was currently doing. And it made the episode so much better when it was just focusing on Chief and what he's going through. Because the actor playing Chief, as much as I don't like that they're constantly taking his helmet off, the dude playing Chief is actually doing a really good job. And for what they're having him do and with the direction they're going with the character of making him kind of like realize how the Spartans were created and start to kind of just not follow every single order he's given, because not everything that the UNSC is doing is necessarily right in his mind. And just seeing that conflict come from this version of Chief, the actor does a good job playing that up. And the action sequence at the end of episode 5 was really good. So we hadn't seen any other aliens except for the elites, the Sangheili, and the first episode, and we finally got another action scene, like how I was talking about in this show. It's a show based off first-person shooter, but there's not a lot of action. But I always understood it because it's giant robot, well, not robot people, but giant humans and giant super soldiers in armor, advanced armor, fighting aliens. So naturally, that involves a lot of CGI. So I get why it's not a lot of it. And that's why I said I would prefer Halo be a movie versus a show. Because with a movie, it's going to have a bigger budget. You're going to have more time for action because it's a film and not a multiple episode long series. And I just feel like Halo makes more sense as a film series than it does a TV show, in my personal opinion, because I feel like it's a story that if you stretch it out too far in terms of time and length, it starts to get a little bit maybe I guess I would say boring, because like I said, the stuff with Quan Ha that they add in there for padding just to make the episodes longer, it doesn't work for me. But when they do focus on the stuff that I care about, like Chief, it actually is pretty good. And I wish, it's already been greenlit for a second season, and I hope that the second season is just stuff with Chief and the Spartans and nothing to do with any characters I don't care about. So it's actually shaping up to actually have the potential to be a much better show. So far, it's been okay. I don't think it's been bad, but I feel like it's getting better. Like I'm gonna finish the first season at the very least, and if it ends strongly, I'll probably check out the second season.
Good.
Yeah. Moon Knight episode 5 has been the best episode of the Moon Knight as a whole, and probably my favorite episode of any of the Marvel Disney Plus series, because I feel like all of them have been lacking in some type of way for me. A lot of people love Loki. I did not really enjoy Loki. Um, and each of these series have been, except for I think WandaVision, which might have been 8 episodes, they've been 6 episodes, which really, really hurts them because it feels like they're telling a really good story until they get up to like the 5th episode, which 5th episode is usually good, but the last episode, they kind of rush and try to hurry up and wrap everything up. But if they give themselves a couple extra episodes, even just 8 episodes, like Netflix usually does like 8 or 10 episodes. I feel like 8 episodes is a good 8 or 10 episodes is like a good sweet spot, because I don't like when seasons are too long, especially for a show that's around 45 to an hour long. I don't like when I don't like 26 episode seasons in general, to be honest, when it comes to hour long shows. If it was 30 minutes, sure, give me a 26 episode season. But if it's an hour long, that's a lot. Take a break. um, but they could use a couple extra episodes to just give us some more information, because in episode 5, they're kind of going through the mind of the main character, Mark Spector, and um looking at his past. And I feel like there should have been an entire episode dedicated to him and his wife that would have made a lot of sense. And I'm not saying I'm not being specific because I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, I've been enjoying Moon Knight. I'm excited for the last episode 6, coming out this Wednesday. And I'm trying to think of like how I'm gonna watch it, because tomorrow's Wednesday. We're recording this on a Tuesday, and I have to go to a school at like early in the morning at like 8 to teach a class, but I want to watch Moon Knight, and I don't have to wait until afterwards. I don't want to have to wait until after that to watch Moon Knight. So I'm wondering if I should go to sleep earlier, wake up earlier at like 5 and watch Moon Knight, because that's what I might end up doing.
I say if you feel like you can like get up, watch Moon Knight early, and then still go and teach. Don't you teach like middle schoolers or whatever?
Yeah, it's been an interesting experience. We're definitely going to be discussing that in a meeting later.
Godspeed to you, if you plan to get up early, because middle schoolers insufferable.
Yeah. So CW have been canceling all of their DC shows. So they've canceled Legends of Tomorrow, Batwoman, and there was something else I can't remember. But they canceled all those shows, but they haven't canceled The Flash or Superman and Lois. Superman and Lois is still really new, and I don't think they will cancel it at all, and that they're just going to move it to HBO Max. And with they also have a Stargirl show, which I also think they won't cancel that, and they're going to move that to HBO Max. And The Flash, I believe next season will probably be its last season. And the reason I think they're doing this is because recently Discovery bought WB, Warner Brothers, from AT&T, who previously owned them. And I think they're kind of trying to clean slate when it comes to DC stuff and actually just take advantage of the IP. Because we talked about before how they don't make, like, they have so many really cool characters, but they only make Batman video games. And now Discovery's like, we're going to make an effort to make more DC video games with different DC characters other than Batman. And I feel like with their movies and shows, they're trying to streamline it and be like, okay, let's take it slow. You guys have been rushing this so much for so long. And a lot of these CW shows have been going on for so long that they aren't really that good anymore. They started good, but the longer they went on, if a show goes on too long, it can get really bad. And they're kind of just trying to clean things up and make some new DC content with characters that haven't been getting the time of day as they should. And I like that they're cleaning things up, and I hope it turns out to be good in the long run.
Yeah, they have a lot of work cut up from them based on what I've heard about CW's The Flash. Oh boy.
Surprisingly enough, like, I had stopped watching it at one point because I was like, man, this show got real bad. But the last season it's been pretty cool. It's gotten better, but it still needs to end. I still think it needs to end, and they need to just start over with a different Flash show in a different universe, like with all of their characters, really. But yeah, moving on to our last section. video games. So Xbox and Bethesda announced that they're going to be doing a game showcase on June 12th. And they'll most likely be showing off Starfield, because I think Starfield is supposed to be releasing this year. And me and you talked about it a little bit on the last episode, or maybe the one before that, about how it's made by the studio, Bethesda, that made Skyrim and have been milking it for the past 10 years. And this is meant to be an evolution of Skyrim, but in space. And I went back and rewatched this series that they've been doing, where they talk about, without actually showing anything, because they've only showed a little cinematic trailer before, talk about what they're doing with the game. The last episode was about music. There was an episode about the story and the different kind of factions within the game before, and everything I hear about it just sounds so cool, and it sounds like my type of game, because I have been wanting a game that takes place in space where you can just go between planets for so long. This is a game that Star Wars should have made a long time ago, and I'm getting real excited for Starfield, and I really, really hope that they show off some gameplay this summer, because I need to see something. I really do. I need to see something soon. But yeah. But speaking of Star Wars, actually, Skydance Studio headed by Amy Hennig, who was the creative director for the first, I believe, 3 Uncharted games, is making a Star Wars game. And I think it was announced, or maybe leaked or something, that this might be happening a while ago, but now it's confirmed. But they haven't really said what the game's going to be. They just announced that they're going to be making it, and I'm interested in what that game will be. So PlayStation Plus has started doing game trials. Well, they haven't started it yet, but they plan on starting it. According to game developers who have been making games for Sony platforms, Sony is requiring devs to offer timed game trials, which is something I feel like should have existed a long time ago, specifically for PS Plus premium subscribers, and for games that cost more than $34. And they must be 2 hours long. And
it's a lot to me. What? 2 hours for a trial? That feels like a lot to me. Most demos.
But I mean, it's a video game. Video games aren't, they're if it was a movie, that would be a long time. But video games are at hours and hours long. And it's for I'm pretty sure there's stipulations on it. It depends on how long the game is, how long the trial is, probably.
My only problem with that, right, is I'm thinking in the context of the demos we've had in the past, where it's just a section of the game to whet your appetite a little bit. And I feel that in packing part of the experience into 2 hours, it's that feels too much time for a time trial, because it's for that, if I'm gonna be sitting here and playing this demo of the game for 2 hours, I might as well just buy it and see.
That's literally the point. The point is that you play it for 2 hours and go, wow, this is really good, I should purchase the game. That's literally the point.
I get you. Yeah. I don't know. It's just
it's so that you test out the game, see if you like it, and if it's really good, then you buy it.
Let's just hope those 2 hours are saved when you buy it, because I know in some games 2 hours is a lot. Specifically thinking of Nier Automata, where it's that all the stuff that happens in that 2 hours, and having to start all that all over again. No thanks. That's all right.
That you definitely should be able to save your progress from those 2 hours if you decide to purchase the game. I really like samples in the Comixology app. You can check out a sample of 10 pages, or it depends how long the book is. Sometimes books are 19 pages, so 10 pages would be over half the book. But sometimes you get a little sample, you get a little taste, you read it, and you go, okay, this is good, I'm gonna purchase the book. So I like having trials for stuff. So I'm gonna end this on Square Enix having sold Ideos Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix Montreal to Embracer Group. And the IPs that these things have are Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, and Thief, and several other things, but those are the 3 biggest ones. and they sold them for $300 million. And I don't know a lot about the pricing of stuff like this, but a lot of people are saying that this is a low price. And if that's the case, Square Enix is wild for selling these piping hot studios, which great studios, they make great games. And these great IPs, these legendary IPs for only 300 million. And I guess that means that they just really wanted to get rid of them. And what a lot of people are saying is that all of these are Western studios, and Square Enix as a whole is a Japanese company. And people were saying that they kind of just wanted to offload those Western studios because they were essentially Square Enix trying to dip their toes into the Western audience, and then they failed and decided to give up. That's what a lot of people who know a little bit more about what Square Enix has been doing over the years has said. Because like Crystal Dynamics made the Avengers game, and that didn't do so hot. And I feel like that was one of the many kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. Like they were like, wow, these studios, I don't like that they're making. We're just gonna sell them. Like they aren't making us enough money. You know, Square Enix has tons of popular IPs that make tons of money, and they felt like they probably just felt like these were more of a hassle than they were what's the opposite of a hassle? I don't know.
Like a profit, yeah.
Profit.
As the resident,
like,
huh?
No, go ahead.
As the resident Square Enix fan, like they are my favorite game company, studio, whatever. I'm concerned. I'm very, very concerned. Like I know that these studios haven't really been churning out some like decent games that make enough money, especially compared to Square Enix's other IPs. But I'm sad to see Thief go. First of all, I really like the Thief games. They're really good. I like the like unique gameplay, whatever. Not really a Tomb Raider fan. I played the first one and that's it. But like I don't know. And then the fact that like they sold them, and according to their official statement on Twitter, to focus on like blockchain and cloud stuff, I'm worried because like that stuff isn't sustainable in the long run. And I feel like they're going to lose more money by selling these IPs that aren't doing so hot than they would by just keeping them and letting them continue to make mediocre games. You know, it's like, I feel like in the long run, they're going to lose more money and then they're going to sell more IPs. And then Square Enix is going to lose what makes them Square Enix because they want to on this blockchain trend, you know?
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to start selling a bunch of other IPs. I think they sold the Western IPs because they just are no longer interested in appealing to the Western market like at all. They don't care to make stuff for Western people at all. That's why they sold these studios. Like they know that if they make a Final Fantasy game, people in the West are going to buy it. But when they make a JRPG, they're not trying to make games for people in America and like Europe. They're just trying to make a good game for people in Japan. And it just so happens to be that Americans also like those types of games. So I think they got rid of these studios because they're no longer just trying to, they just don't care to cater towards Western audiences anymore. They're going to make stuff for Eastern people and Western people are going to buy it either way. And I think that's what they're doing. But I also, I haven't played Thief, but I played Dishonored, and Dishonored is heavily inspired by Thief. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for Thief. And another game inspired by Thief, Splinter Cell by Ubisoft is getting, the first two games are getting remakes. And I want the Thief games to get some remakes because the last Thief game, people were saying wasn't very good. It never interested me when I saw it. I thought it looked all right. But I would love for the first two Thief games to get remakes. I feel like those could be really cool. Like Dishonored is definitely very similar to Thief. I love stealth action games a lot. Like that's why I love Metal Gear so much.
And I think like, especially considering like the first two Thief games, like they at the time they were super unique. Like
Thief they revolutionized stealth games.
Yeah. And like the mechanics in Thief 1 were like for something that wasn't really done before, they were so well done. And it's like I want to see Thief come back. I want to see Thief come back, and this is slightly unrelated. The only way that they're related is that they came out around the same time. I want to see a good Blood remake, like the FPS game on the build engine Blood. Like okay, Blood 2 happened. It was terrible. But the first Blood, not only do I want to see a Blood remake, I want to see it done by the same studio that did Dusk, not Rust. Dusk, which is a really, really good Blood inspired FPS game. Like it plays like Doom, and like Dusk has such good mechanics and like
I need more first person shooters that play like Doom.
I have plenty. Of
it's crazy because was it another like we went from Thief, and because of Thief I started talking about Dishonored, which is also made by a Bethesda studio. Bethesda, they know what they're doing. They make some good games. I see why Xbox bought them. But anyway, I said I was ending and then I kept talking. So I want you to plug your Twitch, because I forgot to let you do that last time.
It's all good. So I'm a streamer. I'm a VTuber. Well, a PNG tuber. We're working on getting a VTubing model set up for me eventually. We'll get there at some point. I stream, I stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays and at like 2-ish p.m. I kind of stream whatever I want, whatever game is interesting me. Right now, I haven't streamed. I was kind of taking a break from streaming for health reasons. But next week, I'll be getting back into, probably actually sometime later this week, I'll be getting back into the grind with a lot of Isaac, the Binding of Isaac, because I've been playing a whole bunch of that. And and then maybe some World of Horror. And then, of course, like I was thinking about doing some Papa's Pizzeria or something on Friday, like I always do. So yeah, come check me out. My Twitch
check out
link.
Death's Door.
Yeah.
That game is good.
Say it one more time.
So you should play Death's Door.
I just might, because I need new games to play on stream. I was gonna play Nier Automata, but like I have 3 different files on that game. They're all like work in progress files, and I don't want to delete any of them. So we'll see.
So I'll put your ad below. Your Muskaz ad will also be on screen. My ads will be right below me. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content, and click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Peace.